The Naor hordes have been driven from the walls, but the Dendrasi forces are scattered and fragmented, and their gravest threat lies before them, for their queen has slain the ruling council and fled with the magical artifacts known as the Hearthstones. She is only a few days from turning them to her mad ends. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Howard Andrew Jones's When the Goddess Wakes. When the Goddess Wakes is book 3 in the Ringsworn Trilogy by Howard Andrew Jones, and it was released near the middle-ish to end of 2021. It starts off exactly where book 2 leaves off, and now this will contain spoilers for book 2 and book 1, and I have done spoiler-free reviews for both of those, but for those who have not read those, you probably won't want to watch this unless, of course, you're not planning on reading the book, or maybe doing so a long time from now, and will almost certainly forget what I say. Admittedly, I generally don't actually have much spoilers for previous books in a lot of cases anyways. But the Naor have been dealt with at this point. Unexpectedly, they are even swearing to serve Elenai, who is, of course, well, essentially our main character, who now seems to maybe be on her way to the throne. Though she doesn't wish this, of course, I think that's a pretty typical reaction. But I don't have a lot to say on exactly what goes on here. I do like how this book explores lots of things, though, while being entertaining. Of course, as I mentioned, it's sort of a sword and sorcery inspired modern epic fantasy, very Zelazny inspired by Roger Zelazny, that is. But we go over questions, about like how much is human life worth, and how do you deal with those apathetic towards those perceived as not on their side, and I mean, yeah, just stuff like that. But again, as far as the story goes, there's a lot happening. There's a dark lady rising, so to speak, a deity formed of nice-looking pieces of earth. Switch a few things around, I feel like, in some of these plot things, and you could have Wheel of Time or Mistborn, which is just, what I'm trying to say is it's kind of typical fantasy fare in that sense, but of course it takes more from sword and sorcery than those other ones do. Also, the world building itself is definitely interesting, as they straight up do not live on a planet. Like, it's not a planet. They're living on some weird fantasy realm thing that you'll understand once you read the first book. But anyways, there's even some time traveling elements here. It's kind of present in book 2 with the Riala stuff, but it definitely seems more like time traveling here. There's also this interesting I would say old ideas of creation, kind of like if you look at like Tiamat and Apsu from like mythologies and other things like that. And I feel like the antagonist of Sarai, even though she's not the big bad, really, she is really the type of antagonist that would fit perfectly into fantasy and into sci-fi, though maybe having to change a little bit stuff to, fit the particulars of the genres, but basically they fit just copying and pasting into another book, essentially. So, and I also think this book does a really good job of exploring sexuality and identity. It's very much a modern exploration, I feel like, because I have seen books explore sexuality specifically, from the 70s or 60s, but they definitely do it in the 70s or 60s, whether it's progressive thought or not. And of course, it's not shoving it down your throat, as there are different views in the story. This isn't Jones picking a side, though it does seem like he is definitely probably leaning towards one, but I could be projecting that onto him, I suppose. So I think he does a good job about it not being shy, but not diverting the story and being, awkwardly in your face, which I feel like a lot of authors have a problem doing these days. I feel like a lot of modern problems are being very preachy and in your face. It comes off as very odd or awkward or sometimes edgy and just like pseudo-philosophical. Or other times it beats around the bush and it doesn't work. So I think it's handled actually really well here. That's what I'm trying to say. And so this is present in the previous books as well, though, but I think it's rounded out pretty well here, actually. And then there's the idea of once the war is over, kind of like the idea of retiring from strife, and finding peace and good leadership and great lessons you're learning through all this garbage that you have to go through. And honestly, I think it's wrapped up pretty well. I think this might actually be the shortest of the three. It's definitely shorter than book 2. I know that. And while it's not like amazing stuff, I would say it's definitely entertaining. It's not very long. It's not hard to get through. And the epilogue did actually bring tears in my eyes, so I definitely connected with something there. But if you have read these books, let me know what your thoughts are. They're not super popular. The audio is good, actually. I've listened to some of the story on audio. But you can catch me on my Discord down below. This has been Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.